What is a dance? Now that's a great question because you're in a class of dance appreciation. Most of us know what a dance is when we see it. I have a 4-year-old nephew, and my 4-year-old nephew when he sees dancing, he knows that I'm a dancer and he knows that I like dance. So when he sees a dance, he says, "Oh, look, there's dancing." So that's amazing to me because just at 4 years old, he really knows, oh, this is ordinary movement. And sometimes ordinary movement is a thing called a dance. It's a phenomenon. Now, I found a definition that said dance can be defined as a patterned, rhythmic movement in space and time, and especially when it's accompanied by music. Now, most people know that the form dance often goes with music. Those two things always tend to live together, although we can have dances in silence as well. But a lot of times we've got music with the dance. There are lots of things I think that move rhythmically in space and time, and although they can be dance-like, they're not quite art dancing. Yeah, so I'll show you some clips here. There's some animals that are dancing around in kind of courtship rituals. We sometimes call this courting dances of animals. And we also can see bees buzzing around. Sometimes that looks like a dance also. Now, I like this definition a little bit better, that dance is a performing art. It's a form. It's consisting of purposeful selected sequences of human movement. And if we break this down, I like this because it's a performing art, that it's meant to be done and often people watch it. Then I also like the fact that it's human movement that we're looking at often in these dances. And these create forms. This movement has aesthetic and symbolic value. Now, I like this because it starts to feel like our definition of art, where it's a kind of language and that there's feeling in the language as well. So the sense of symbols and aesthetics come together and we create feeling and language. And it's also observed by dance by the performers and observers within a particular culture. I like this because a lot of dances are cultured events. They come out of a certain group of people at a certain time. Yeah. Now, most of us as practicing dance artists in the world of dance and aesthetics at the university, we're interested in the phenomenon of dance as art, and for me, it's that moment when ordinary movement somehow becomes bigger than just ordinary movement. It becomes artful and it becomes poetry. Yeah. So for me, that's a fantastic moment, is when something no longer just becomes an ordinary motion, but somehow the movement becomes something much more beautiful and much more expressive of something. Dance is a combination of several elements. The element of time. Now, most people will recognize rhythm as a big part of dance. Yeah. For me, that's time. Yeah. That the dance and the rhythm come together in a way. The other elements are space. So space is important because dance happens both in the internal spaces of the body. So each of our bones come together and we have joints that move. So that is an internal space. But then also we do dance often in the external space of a room, where movements travel upward, movements travel downward. So we're dealing with space all the time and the space of the architecture of a space. Yeah. And then the last element is dynamics, the energy of a piece. Where something, and this I think fits into the kind of language of a piece. So it's the language of feeling. So there are some movements that are fast and furious. There are some movements that are slow and gentle. I think there are movements that are, caressing of love. There are movements that are much more angry. So a lot of, I think, the emotion of a piece comes into this kind of energy. So again, 3 things for dance: time, space, energy. Yeah. And they move us into a kind of really dynamic form. Now, the one thing I want you to know about a dance, for me, a dance is like a waterfall. If we take a picture of the waterfall, it's the shape of a waterfall, but it isn't waterfalling. Yeah. So a dance is a dance when it's moving, when it's happening in a space. Yeah. And like a waterfall, while it's happening, it's dynamic and there's flow to it. It is a moment in time. What I like sometimes about dances as a performance art, when they're over, they're done, and the waterfall disappears. Now, if we look at what a dance does, I would say that it's a container. It's a container to be a metaphor. So, like we talked about earlier, a dance about love is about love. Imagine a soloist who's doing a dance about losing a friend, something that's really hurt them. So that dance becomes a container for that feeling to be expressed through. And what the dancer does often, the choreographer, who is the maker of the dance, the choreographer chooses movements that somehow convey that feeling and pass it on to the viewer and to the audience, And much in the same way that a dance is a work of art, it's a physical thing that is made. And it's a physical thing that often can be repeated. So we have dances that have lasted thousands of years, like we have art that has lasted thousands of years as well. Sometimes people ask me, why do we make the dances? And what does a dance ultimately do or say? And I would say all of you are experts at looking at dance. Most of the time, when we look at someone dancing, what we really like about it is that it's a really great metaphor for existence. That a dance blends time and space and energy together and gives us this mini microcosm for a world. And it lets us celebrate what it's like to be alive. It lets us celebrate what it's like to feel this moment. And I would probably say to all of you, the most valuable thing we have on this planet is the time we have and the feelings and the sensations of being alive at that moment. So I often say when I watch a dance, when I'm seeing a dancer leap in space, what I'm really enjoying is just the ability of human beings to be here at this moment in this time. So for me, a dance is a perfect little metaphor for existence. And there's probably nothing better on the planet than watching that.